This past weekend, the BC Liberal Party had their convention. With British Columbians heading to the polls next May, the governing BC Liberals will attempt to win their fifth straight election. As many of you know, our Liberals in BC are not affiliated with the federal party. They are more of a coalition of federal Liberals and Conservatives who unite to keep out the NDP. But with all political dynasties, eventually there is an appetite for change. But I'm not sure 2017 will be that year in BC. With the performance of the Alberta NDP and the adoption of the LEAP manifesto by the federal NDP, the BC Liberals have found themselves with a baked-in advantage next May. Last election, Premier Christy Clark and the BC Liberals campaigned heavily on bringing BC an LNG export industry. We have vast supplies of shale gas in the northeast of our province, and at that time the price of natural gas in Asia was a number of times higher than it was in North America. It made sense in 2013 to push for that industry, and I thought it would be a great way to increase capital investment and bring some head offices to downtown Vancouver. But with a global natural gas price collapse, investment is drying up. Regulatory delays, environmental and First Nations opposition also played into the slowdown in getting any projects approved or investment decisions green-lit. The BC Liberals have taken quite a bit of heat on their now failed promise to have 5 export facilities operational by 2020. And rightfully so, because before Friday, not one LNG export facility had been completely green-lit. I said before Friday because that's when the government announced that the parent company behind Woodfibre LNG, a small export facility in Howe Sound, had approved an investment decision in its $1.6 billion facility. So I caught up with Natural Gas Minister Rich Coleman to discuss more about this project.
All right, Minister Coleman, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me. Let's start with the big news. Woodfibre LNG decided to proceed with their investment decision. Give us a little bit of an outline on the benefits of that project and what it's going to mean to British Columbia's LNG exports.
One of the largest single investments in BC history on the lower mainland of British Columbia, $1.6 billion, probably 650 direct jobs plus indirect jobs over the life of the construction. In addition to that, it's the cleanest LNG facility in the world. It'll be run by electric drive, which is 98% of BC's electricity is clean energy. So that's a bonus. They changed some of their planning so that they could go from a water cool to an air cooler, because that was one of the concerns in the Howe Sound area, which they've also solved that. They've really stepped up actually and met the needs and stuff. And in addition to the project itself and the benefits from it, an old pulp mill site that has got significant challenges environmentally after 100 years of industrial development is also getting cleaned up at the same time as a result, because that's where it's going to go.
So between this investment decision and actually getting shovels in the ground, what are the sort of obstacles you think that might be thrown up? Do you think we could see the type of protests that we've seen, in opposition to oil pipelines, for instance, where we have activists literally trying to stop the progress of the project even starting?
I don't think so. I mean, I think you're going to see early work start probably within a month on the site, with starting the cleanup, getting the 400 plus creosote piles that are sitting there on that site cleaned off and remediating and starting to get it prepared the site for construction. And then they will go out and design with their feed, or bid their feed contract with somebody to build the actual components of the plant, and they're doing that work now, and it'll go ahead. There's no issues really. The Squamish First Nation has been working for a benefit agreement with the company. They're very close, I understand, and they're quite happy to work with them. And they actually approved it to their own environmental process. The First Nations did as well, this project.
With regards to some of the larger projects that are still awaiting a decision up in the northwest part of the province, the Petronas-led one, the Shell-led LNG Canada, and I believe a Chevron even has interest in a slightly smaller one than that, but still big, about $10 billion. What are the chances that we see an investment decision like that in the next little while on one of those bigger projects?
Well, you're going to see a few things going on. The Pacific Northwest LNG project, I was in Malaysia recently, sat down with the board and the executive of Petronas, who are the lead on the project. There's five different companies involved in that particular project. So what will happen there is, because of the time frame and time lapse from when they went to a conditional FID and had actually designed their plant, there's been another 15, 18 months since that time to finally get to where they get their environmental approval with the conditions. So they're assessing the conditions now. They don't see any that are going to be a problem. and then they will now go out and rebid the project. So that's going to take some months. You can imagine a $15 billion plant is going to take, you got to go out and check your steel, your gauges, your electrical, all the stuff, your site works, everything, because that's all changed in the last 18 months while you've been waiting. So they're going to do that. The Shell project, which is LNG Canada up in Kitimat, they've said they're shooting for a construction start of 2018. They're going through their processes now. They're doing some on-site works with regards to some of the fishery issues on the site. In the last couple of days have been sort of delayed because there's been a lot of rain up there, so it's affected the creeks that they're working on. But they're going to continue to do those early work stuff. The Chevron project, which you mentioned, which is we know as Kitimat LNG. Kitimat LNG has done a redesign with Woodside, so they're looking at floating storage now and about a 15 million ton plant. They're doing some work with regards to that and continuing on their design. And Aurora LNG, which is another project up in the Prince Rupert area, has now advanced a little bit further, looking towards when they might do their environmental submissions. So each one of them, out of the 20 that are sort of proposed in BC, are at different stages, but those would be the closest.
So there you have it from the minister. What did you think of his update on the state of LNG in our province? I know he's very optimistic about all those different proposed projects we discuss, and I would love to see that kind of investment in our province, and hopefully some of those companies open head offices here in Vancouver as well. But it's a very competitive market with low prices and small margins, and I worry Canada's regulations and investment climate because of carbon taxes will scare off investment and send those dollars either south of the border or to Australia, where they have no carbon taxes. The wood fiber investment is a great start, but will more dollars follow before May 2017 and help the BC Liberals win another election? At this point, it's hard to know. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on our YouTube channel, why not click up here and make that decision to chip in $8 a month and get our premium content? That'll give you access to our full-length shows by Ezra Levant, Lauren Southern, Gavin McInnes, and others.